I will come back to that in another question. And the new initiative is the initiative around the Grand Paris, Greater Paris. And in this new initiative, the issue of economic competitiveness is really the focus of the government, because the government said we want Paris to become a world city, and this means to develop policies in terms of economic competitiveness. The problem is that we are not sure, and maybe this is different from the UK, we are not sure about state funding. And I would say it's more, so far, rhetoric than concrete measures. And we already see there's a lot of conflicts between local governments and the national government on this emphasis. So, for instance, if you compare with the UK, in which it seems, as Alan said, that there's no political conflicts between the local and the national levels regarding issues to be addressed, in France there's definitely a conflict between issues to be addressed. The national government definitely has made the choice of concentrating on economic competitiveness, which is not at all obvious, I mean, the local government associations. Okay, and just to try to finish to answer question one, also something which has been consistent but without much success so far, and I will come back to this when we'll talk about the successes and mistakes or errors, it's the attempts since, I would say, the early 1990s to upscale policies, trying to shift the focus from the neighborhood scale to the city or agglomeration, or even now metropolitan scale, without, as I said previously, a lot of success. So now, Ernesto asked us to, regarding new initiatives. I think there's at least two initiatives which are not in your paper. One, maybe it's a mistake of mine. I forgot to tell you about it. It's a decision in 2005-2006 of the government to create what it calls Operation of National Interest, OEN, and most of them are in Paris and in Lyon now. It looks a bit like what the UK government started in the 1980s under, I mean, with Margaret Thatcher, what they call urban development corporations. I mean, it's the state selects an area, big area. In Paris, it's between 500,000 and 1 million, so it's a big area, a chunk of the metropolitan area, in which it will decide to concentrate its funding and try to get some partnership with local government and the private sector. And so far, I mean, the problem, and this is why we cannot talk about strategies. You have a tool here, this Operation of National Interest, but with actions without any content. We don't know if it will be housing, if it will be transport, if it will be both, if it will be economic development. So the state decides that, for instance, around the south of Paris, they want to focus, they have created 2 years ago an operation of national interest. They are now trying to create what they call a governance system for this area, and now the government is trying to figure out what would be the major issues to be addressed in this area. So there is a kind of there is no linkages between the decision to select a portion of a territory of the metropolitan area and the content of the policies that or the action that we want to put on this territory. If I understood well what Alan Harding said, it seems that the central government in the UK has a more clear, let's say, view of what is important and how to achieve and how to achieve or to address problems. My understanding of the French government, not only the present government, but the previous also government, is a lack of capacity of the national state to address, to identify and to address the issues, either social issue or economic competitiveness issues regarding cities. The second question that Ernesto asked was, are policy strategies possible at the national level? Well, it's kind of complicated to answer that question because first, what do you mean by possible? And what do you mean, as you know, by strategy? When you don't have any strategy, but we have what, symbolically speaking, national policies. So it's possible. We have had national policies regarding cities in France since, let's say, 25 years, more or less. But you have to make a distinction between the elaboration of policies and the implementation of policies. Elaboration of policies in France, because of decentralization, mostly, elaboration is made at the national level, implementation is made at the local level. So you could say, in terms of elaboration, we are very good, the central government is very good to elaborate new initiatives, new policies, but it's not very good at all to implement them at the local level. So at the national level, for instance, the state has been, and I think it's different from, of course, from Italy, and maybe different from Spain, which I don't know very well. The first thing that the state did, and still keeps on doing, is to create national institutions, national structures, national mechanism, financial mechanism to implement national policies. So we have a ministry for cities, we have the delegation, interministerial delegation for cities, we have a Secretary of State to the cities, we have the National Agency for Urban Regeneration, we have a lot of instruments, and you have all these people working, you know, it's been like that for about 25 years now, working, producing initiative, reports, assessment, but just, I mean, not looking at what's going on in terms of implementation. So it's a self-functioning, I would say, system, but within the central government apparatus. And of course, we have a lot of laws. I would say that almost every year or every 2 years, we have a general law regarding the policy for cities with special programs. All new ministers, of course, will try and will succeed in having a special program with special funding. But because of decentralization, and decentralization has meant, this is why when we say centralized, decentralized, it's difficult to know regarding some specific policies if France is centralized or decentralized.